6 spine-chilling public transportation stories exposing the sinister and cursed secrets of communities. Amanda clutched her bag tightly, heart pounding as the bus rattled down the darkened streets. The shadows of overhanging trees seemed to reach out, clawing at her as they ambushed the cracked sidewalks. Each night felt like she was stepping into another world, one far removed from the sterile walls of the hospital she'd just left behind. A nurse's shift didn't end with the patient's final heartbeat. It continued into the evening chill, where she found herself swallowed by a neighborhood steeped in economic despair. The bus driver eyed her through the rearview mirror, his indifference a flicker of warning. She shifted nervously, wondering if he was an ally or part of the malevolent fold surrounding her. One unnerving night, a man in a brown jacket, who had sat silently at the back, suddenly sauntered forward, smiling like a predator. Amanda felt the cold grip of instinct tighten in her gut. He leaned in, the warmth of his breath brushing against her face, and struck up a casual conversation, his voice calm yet laced with something sinister. "You should be careful out here at night," he advised, his eyes glinting with a knowing that set her skin to crawling. Despite thanking him, she felt ensnared, as if she'd wandered into a trap cloaked in friendly chatter. The following nights on the bus were suffocating. Each turn of the wheels echoed in her ears, the weight of unspoken words leaching into the air. She caught glimpses of that man's brown jacket stalking her from just out of sight, lurking in shadowy corners like a specter. Murmurs from strangers wafted through the stale bus air, snippets that pinched her nerves. She's noticed too much. It's just the beginning. Fear laced her heart as she pieced together whispers of others who vanished after late-night journeys, each story pulling her deeper into a maw of dread. Driven by a mother's instinct to shield her child, Amanda galvanized herself into action. She began to probe the silent darkness of her suburb, unraveling a web of fear woven into the fabric of her community's silenced voices clinging to shadows. Their faces, once familiar, now seemed like masks hiding unspoken nightmares, and Amanda's gut roiled with paranoia. Would her innocent laughter become another faint memory? Each step brought her closer to the man in the brown jacket, and she felt the urge to confront him swell. Her heart raced, pumping hot adrenaline through her veins. But just as she gathered the courage, her gaze snagged on a missing person poster at the bus stop. Her daughter's sweet face peered back at her, blue eyes forever bright now a haunting specter of possible loss. Panic seized her, her breaths quickening, as she scanned the crowd for any sign of danger. Suddenly, the bus lights flickered, illuminating faces that once felt like home. But now, they were twisted in expressions of despair as the whispers crescendoed. Just as the doors began to close, she heard the man's voice echo through the din. "You won't need to worry about her. We'll make sure she's just fine. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of his foreboding words settled over Amanda like a heavy shroud. She could feel the claws of terror tightening around her, encasing her in a vice of despair. Was it too late to turn back? In that suffocating moment, with her daughter's safety hanging by a thread, the realization struck: the very people living alongside her concealed secrets darker than the night itself. Amanda's heart raced as she stepped off the bus, the shadows now more than just dark. They were alive, shifting and swirling around her, hungry for something she didn't dare to give. Her fingers trembled as she clung to her bag, each hurried step echoing in her ears, the whispers of the bus still lingering in the back of her mind. The man in the brown jacket haunted her thoughts, his promise curling around her like smoke. He had no intention of letting her walk away unscathed. She turned the corner onto her street, a route she'd traveled 1,000 times, yet now it felt foreign and menacing. Streetlights flickered ominously, their glow barely cutting through the gathering darkness. An unsettling chill prickled her skin, raising goosebumps as she glanced back, half expecting to see him lurking behind her. But the street was empty. The silence was deafening. As she neared her home, the familiar creak of the gate sent an icy shudder through her veins. The house loomed before her, a small bastion of safety swallowed by the encroaching gloom. She fumbled for her keys, but they slipped through her fingers, clattering to the ground with an echo that seemed to mock her fears. "Get a grip," she whispered to herself, bending down to retrieve them. Just then, a faint rustle made her freeze. Was it just the wind? Or was someone out there? Panic surged, and she fumbled with the lock, her hands shaking violently as chills crawled up her spine. The door swung open with a reluctant groan, and she slipped inside, locking it behind her with supreme urgency. The heavy door felt like a flimsy barrier against what lurked outside. Inside, the darkness loomed larger. Amanda flicked on the lamp, expecting some comfort from its soft light, but the glow only intensified the gnawing dread in her stomach. She moved to her daughter's room, her heart sinking as she peered through the door. Empty. The bed lay untouched, the covers neatly tucked in. The silence rang in her ears like a tolling bell, a haunting reminder of her child's absence. She had left Olivia with a trusted neighbor, but the thought of her daughter out there, alone in a world that had suddenly turned terrifying, sent panic spiraling through her thoughts. Where was the sweet laughter that usually filled the house? All she could think about were the chilling words of the man in the brown jacket. The neighborhood wasn't safe, not anymore. She grabbed her phone, trembling fingers dialing the neighbor's number, desperation clawing at her throat. On the first ring, she could practically hear her heartbeat in the thick air. How many rings would it take for someone to answer? But just as it connected, the line went dead. No answer. Static. Only the sound of her growing fear filling the room. The ominous creak of the floorboards drew her attention. Footsteps? In her own home? Her heart thundered as she turned slowly, every rational thought fleeing. There, in the hallway, shadowy and indistinct, stood a figure. A familiar outline, but uncertainty twisted in her chest, fear holding her still. "Mom?" came a small, innocent voice that shattered her composure. Relief flooded through her until she realized Olivia should not have been home yet. The figure stepped into the light, a disturbingly calm smile spreading across the face of Amanda's daughter. "I brought someone home with me." Amanda's breath caught in her throat. "What do you mean?" The weight of dread sank deeper as she noticed the shadow by her daughter's side, stepping into the light, the familiar brown jacket silhouetted against the soft glow. It was him. "Your daughter was feeling lonely," he said, voice smooth and inflected with an unsettling warmth. All the whispers suddenly flooded back. Every warning. Every shadow. And now? The door had been opened to a nightmare deeper than she could have imagined. What did he mean by that? What was going to unfold now? Amanda's pulse raced, the weight of dread pressing hard against her chest. As the man in the brown jacket stepped closer, the shadows seemed to elongate, stretching toward her like skeletal fingers. He didn't just stand there, he exuded a sense of familiarity that tangled with terror. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, urging her to act. "Olivia, honey, why don't you go to your room?" She managed to choke out, forcing her voice to stay steady, but the girl didn't move. Her eyes, wide and innocent, flitted back and forth between Amanda and the figure beside her. "He's nice, Mom. He brought me a surprise." The words twisted like a knife in her gut. Surprise? What did that mean? Every instinct screamed at Amanda to protect her child, to scream and run, but she was rooted in place, the horror unfolding painfully slow. "Surprises can be fun," the man purred, his smile. It was too broad, too knowing. "But first, we need to play a game. Olivia loves games." He turned to Amanda, his eyes locking onto hers, pulling her into some unseen trap. "Don't you want to play too?" The air thickened around her, clinging to her skin like a suffocating blanket. "No games, not now." A desperate plea slipped from her lips. She felt like a caged animal, her instincts raging against the instinct to flee. At a low chuckle escaped him, sending chills racing down her spine. "Oh, we'll play, Amanda. It's already begun." The light flickered, and in that instant, the shadows danced, flickering menacingly around the figure. He took a step forward, and Amanda's body reacted without thought. She lunged toward her daughter, yanking Olivia behind her. "Stay back," she shouted, every ounce of her being focused on keeping the stranger away from her child. He halted, but something deeper shifted in the air, an electric thrill that buzzed with dark intentions. You don't understand the rules. His smile faded, replaced with an unsettling seriousness. Olivia came wandering into my world, and now she's part of my game. A frigid pulse of fear coursed through Amanda. What do you mean? Every choice you make will determine her fate, he replied, his voice a whisper, yet it thundered in her mind. Just like every game, there are stakes. You'll roll the dice, Amanda. All the breaths she took felt like they were hoarding panic. She could see the shadow behind him shifting with a life of its own, a dark wave inching forward. She couldn't let him have Olivia, she wouldn't allow that. Leave us alone. Amanda screamed, drawing an invisible line in the sand. Suddenly, the air around her warped, echoes of laughter rose and fell around her, taunting. The walls seemed to pulse, alive with noise, blurring her vision. Where do you think you're going? He asked, a tempest swirling in his eyes. It's just the beginning. The game has many layers, Amanda. Ruining the fun now would be the worst mistake of your life. As his laugh echoed in the air, Amanda felt something slip inside her, a frozen coil of dread solidifying. She backed away slowly, knowing she had to keep Olivia safe. Her mind raced. What was his endgame? Then the lights fizzled, plunging the room into darkness, swallowing her whole. Mom! Olivia called, fear cracking her voice. Olivia! The darkness throbbed with unseen forces, and from the depths came a whisper that curled around Amanda's heart, icy and seductive. Make a choice. With that, a cold sweat dripped down her back as she realized she had to make a decision. The stakes were rising as the envelope of terror closed in tighter. What would she choose? And what horrific consequences awaited them if she failed? In the pitch-black void, time lost meaning. Mom, where are you? Olivia's voice trembled, reaching out like a tether through the silence. Panic surged within Amanda, threatening to drown her. She gripped the wall, feeling the texture of the paint beneath her fingers, a fragile grip on reality. Stay close, sweetheart. She yelled, desperate. Her heart raced, fists clenched. The echoes of the man's words slipped through her mind. The game had started. What kind of game? A sudden, bone-chilling laugh sliced through the darkness, setting her nerves ablaze. The sound seemed to morph, bending and twisting into something even more sinister. Choose wisely, Amanda. Every decision leads to a path, and paths have consequences. Why are you doing this? She shouted back, her voice a fragile defiance against the encroaching terror. This isn't about me, he replied, the shadow of his presence pressing down like thick fog. This is about you and your little girl. The stakes change with every heartbeat. You'll soon see. The heavy darkness around her felt suffocating. She forced herself to breathe, to think. Amanda strained her ears for any sound, hoping to grasp at her daughter's figure in the void. Each fleeting second felt like an eternity. Mom? Olivia called again, voice quivering. I can't see you. I'm right here. Amanda shouted as she groped forward, her hands brushing against cold air. We'll get out of this together. But as those words left her lips, an unfamiliar sound echoed through the room, a deep, guttural growl that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It transformed the air into a living entity. Each breath became a battle, sucking the warmth from her chest. Be careful, Amanda. You can't always protect her. The man's voice resonated, smooth yet laced with venom. Give her what she craves, and she might remain safe, for now. Sickening dread coiled in her stomach. What did he mean? What did Olivia crave? Mom! Cried Olivia, uncertainty spilling into her voice. I feel scared. Just hang on. Amanda yelled, adrenaline surging. I want to let him hurt you. But even as she drew in her breath, the room shook, lights flickering back to life for mere moments, casting eerie shadows that danced wildly. In that flash, she caught a glimpse of Olivia, her daughter's face, suddenly aged beyond her years, eyes wide, brimming with something that felt almost not quite human. Olivia. A surge of fear pushed Amanda to move closer, but something held her in place, a force pressing against her mind, whispering doubts. She looks different. Just before the light died again, Olivia's expression contorted in confusion and fear, the familiar warmth twisted into something stranger. When the shadows swallowed the room, Amanda's heart thudded painfully in her chest, uncertainty blooming with each passing second. What did you do to her? Amanda screamed, voice cracking, shattering the eerie stillness. The man chuckled again, a sound full of dark delight. Look closer, Amanda. The game needs players, it always has. Your sweet little girl is hungry for more than just your protection. A low rumble of laughter erupted like thunder, vibrating through the very framework of the house. Make a choice. Frozen in fear, Amanda's mind raced. Could the truth be worse than the shadow? Could saving Olivia mean losing a part of her forever? The dark began to swirl, encroaching on her sanity. Focus, she thought. There had to be a way out. As she strained to hold on to her resolve, the laughter morphed into shrieks, voices melding into a chaotic symphony of terror. Mom! Olivia's cry cut through the cacophony. Olivia, please, what do you want? But the shadows tightened around her, threatening to consume the last bits of hope. She felt the weight of the decision crashing down like an avalanche. Every choice, a potential open door to despair, and then, the whisper returned, dripping with malice and desperation. Choose or lose her forever. Amanda's hands trembled as darkness loomed, and the chilling realization sunk in. She was running out of time. The walls felt like they were closing in, and Olivia's voice faded beneath the roar of chaos. What was she willing to sacrifice to keep her daughter safe? The shadows began to weave together, forming shapes that twisted her reality. But the game wasn't finished. Not yet. The question echoed in her mind. What would Amanda sacrifice to save her child? The game had only just begun. The air hummed with tension as Amanda's heart raced, each beat echoing in the suffocating darkness. The shadows coiled tighter, whispering threats that distorted reality. It felt as if a storm were brewing inside her, one that threatened to rage out of control at any moment. What do you want from us? The words slipped from her lips before she could stop them. Isn't it simple? The voice dripped with mockery, reverberating through her bones. The game has rules, and every challenge you face brings you closer to the truth. But beware, the truth can be debilitating. Choose wisely, and you may find your daughter whole again. Olivia. She called, trying to reach across the darkness. Baby, just stay with me. The shadows responded with a cacophony of growls, a reminder of the malevolence lurking within. She felt cold tendrils wrapping around her mind, dragging her into despair. What if I choose wrong? Then you both lose, perhaps forever. He chuckled, the sound piercing her like a dagger. Don't you see? Losing isn't just death, it's something far worse. The air grew thicker, suffocating her thoughts as she fought for clarity. She concentrated on Olivia's voice, the one sound that tethered her to sanity. I can't lose her. Amanda shouted, desperation fueling her. What do you need to feed her hunger? Ah, now we're getting somewhere, came the reply, slithering through the darkness like a viper. You must decide, Amanda. Is it love or fear that sustains her now? Both can be deliciously devoured. The tension felt palpable. Amanda's instincts screamed at her to protect Olivia, but now she questioned what it meant to truly protect her daughter. The flickering lights returned, casting brief, chaotic illuminations across the room. Each flash revealed grotesque shapes, faces contorted in agony, as if the very walls were alive with past victims. No. She gasped, shaking her head to clear the horrific images. But the darkness danced, shifting and contorting into twisted forms, haunting reminders of what had come before. Will you sacrifice your love, Amanda? Or will you let fear reign? It's a choice every mother faces in the dark. Shut up. She yelled, collapsing to her knees, feeling the ground pulse beneath her like a heart beating too fast. You want to play games? Fine. But I want to let you take her. Silence followed, heavy and pregnant with the weight of her defiance. But before it could settle, Olivia's voice emerged softly, disoriented. Mom. I'm scared. I know, baby. Hold on. In that moment of fleeting connection, something surged through Amanda, the primal urge of a mother. But it wasn't enough. The shadows writhed, longing to claim their next victim. Choose. The voice shrieked, the chaos swirling into a wicked maelstrom. The longer you wait, the more hungry she becomes. A sound of cracking echoed, like bones breaking. Fear seized Amanda's heart as she pressed her palms against her ears, trying to drown out the tormenting sounds. The choice was tearing her apart, love or fear? And would either result in losing herself? Olivia. She screamed, the name carving through the darkness like a beacon. What do you want? The shadows trembled as a chilling silence echoed back. And then, a quiet whisper seeped through the darkness, full of dread and yearning. I want to be free. But free from what? Her vision swam in the dark, thoughts whirling, desperate for clarity. She knew the decision loomed like a shadow over her very soul. What would she have to unleash to save her child? Suddenly, the walls shook violently, and a deep rumble filled the room, threatening to pull her under. Choose now. The commanding voice boomed, stretched thin with growing impatience. Or see your child consumed by the very hunger she craves for. Amanda's heart raced faster, every beat resonating with terror. What desolation lay ahead if she failed? A glimmer of resolve flickered within her. I'll do whatever it takes. The shadows erupted into a chaotic swirl, and for a brief moment, she glimpsed something, an image of a door, beckoning. But were there more than mere choices behind it? Would the threshold lead to salvation or damnation for both of them? As the laughter faded into a haunting echo, darkness engulfed the room once more. Amanda felt the ground give way beneath her. What awaited her on the other side? What dark revelation lay beyond that door? Amanda fell. The sensation of weightlessness filled her, then abruptly gave way to a harsh jolt as she landed on cold, unyielding ground. Dazed, she blinked against the sharp brightness that blared from overhead lights, illuminating a desolate subway station. The familiar sounds of screeching metal and distant echoes surrounded her, but they were twisted now, warped and unnatural. Mom? Olivia's voice punctuated the silence, but it sounded distorted, as though filtered through static. Mom, where are you? Olivia. She frantically scanned the platform but saw only darkened tunnels leading to unknown depths. Shadows seemed to crawl along the walls, taunting her with their sibilant whispers. She could feel the weight of some unseen presence pressing down on her, invading her thoughts, stirring deep-seated fears. The overhead lights flickered ominously, casting disjointed shadows that danced like phantoms. Amanda strained to listen, hoping to catch another glimpse of her daughter's voice. But all she heard was a rush, a gust of wind that seemed to come from nowhere, howling through the empty station as if it were mourning the souls lost in this forsaken place. She scrambled to her feet, heart pounding like a drum that echoed in the cavernous space. I'm here, baby. Where are you? The words were out before she could think, every syllable drenched in desperation. Over here. Olivia's voice called again, this time nearby, dripping with distress. Following the sound, Amanda felt the ground shift beneath her, a disconcerting tremble that sent a shiver up her spine. She saw Olivia, a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the platform, her small frame illuminated by the eerie glow of an approaching train that roared down the tunnel. But as Amanda moved closer, the train's lights flickered and dimmed, revealing the child not quite as she remembered. Mom. I don't feel right, Olivia said, her voice fracturing. The lights flickered and for a split second, Amanda saw her daughter's face shift, her normally bright eyes clouding over with a darkness that chilled Amanda to the bone. No. Stay with me. The shadows around them twisted into grotesque shapes, laughter echoing in her ears. She stumbled forward, reaching for Olivia as the train thundered into the station, the wind from its passage wrapping around her like icy chains. "Mom, go back. It's hungry," Olivia shouted, her voice now almost a shriek, dragged away by the rush of sound. Panic clawed at Amanda's throat. "Run!" But before Amanda could react, a blinding light engulfed her, and she was thrown backward, tumbling back into the shadows. She felt weightless again, her surroundings shifting like quicksand. Everything spun until she felt solid ground once more, and in her heart, she knew she stood on the precipice of something dreadful. "Are you ready to choose?" A voice taunted from the darkness, looping through her mind in a disembodied spiraling chant. "Love or fear? Every moment you linger, she falls deeper into the abyss." "I don't want to play," Amanda screamed, her breath hitching in her throat. "Just let her go." The laughter returned, resonating with horrific glee. "It's too late for that, Amanda. The hunger must be satisfied. Which path will you take? Will you brave the darkness or succumb to your fears?" A flicker of movement caught Amanda's eye. Shadows separated, forming a path leading to another door, each step heavy with the weight of choices she dreaded to make. What if this was yet another trick? Olivia. The word echoed, raw and wild. Would she sacrifice her love for the chance of freedom? Would her fears bind her to hopelessness? As she hesitated, the air thickened, pushing against her as if it hungered for something more. "Time is slipping away," the voice hissed, warped with anticipation. With her heart pounding like cannon fire, Amanda steeled herself. "I'll face whatever comes. I just want my girl." As she stepped toward the door, the station erupted, shattering the illusion around her. The corridors twisted, revealing grotesque reflections of her past. Visions of despair lined the walls, each one echoing Olivia's trapped cries, leaving Amanda anchored in the storm of indecision. What awaited her on the other side of the door? Was she too late to save her daughter? The shadows inched closer, whispering dark secrets meant to ensnare her. The choice pressed on her, suffocating and relentless. What if freedom came at an unimaginable cost? The door swung open with a low creak, revealing a tunnel, darker than pitch. Amanda stepped through, her instincts screaming against the darkness. It felt alive, coiling around her legs like a predator preparing for the kill. She swallowed hard, the fear of what lay ahead battling the fervent need to find Olivia. "Olivia!" She called again, hoping against hope that the sound of her voice would lure her daughter back from whatever depths were consuming her. The place was a labyrinth now, twisting like a serpent amid its many paths, leading deeper into an eerie night. The darkness pulsed, a malevolent force that seemed to reply with a low, throaty growl, echoing back her call. It resonated inside her chest, a dreadful sound that made her skin prickle. "Mom, help me!" that voice again, familiar and yet painfully warped. Olivia's cries slipped through the very fabric of the tunnel, each breath weighed down by despair. "Hold on. I'm coming." Amanda surged forward, adrenaline driving her. Each step felt like an eternity as the shadows lengthened and writhed around her, mocking her urgency. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A weight pressed down, and the air grew thick with the scent of decay, a smell so rancid it clawed at her throat. Her heart hammered as visions floated around her, distorted memories dragging her into their morose embrace. She saw Olivia in a faded memory, giggling as they played hide and seek. The laughter twisted, morphing into pained shrieks as the shadows pulled Amanda deeper. "Mom!" Olivia's voice was a strangled scream, now echoing through a tunnel that morphed into a cavern, dark and cavernous, where other voices intertwined in anguish. "Please! Can't you see me?" The walls pulsed with every heartbeat, alive with an unspeakable hunger as they crept closer, tightening around her. Was this the abyss? A place where lost souls cried for help, their energies fed the monstrous thing lying in wait? No. This can't be happening. She gasped, anguish surging through her veins. Amanda pressed forward relentlessly, the desire to save her daughter radicalizing her fear into a weapon. A blinding light pierced the abyss momentarily, illuminating glimpses of trapped figures, twisted and distorted. Their faces were wrecked with fear and sorrow, reaching out, as if begging for release. Didn't they understand? Amanda knew all too well the cost of freedom. Mommy. Olivia's voice sliced through the cacophony of cries, raw and desperate. That was her girl. Amanda lunged towards the sound, willing herself to reach the end of the darkness. Olivia. Just hold on. She screamed, bursting forward. But as she raced through, the tunnel shifted again, folding in on itself, a living thing determined to prevent her escape. Shadows reached for her like long fingers, grasping, pulling her back into despair. Run, Mom. It's coming for you. Olivia shouted, her words barely audible over the rush of wind and whispers, but Amanda couldn't stop. The cavern opened up into a vast chamber, a moonlit expanse that almost looked serene. Yet, Amanda felt the oppressive dread clinging to her skin, the sense of something unseen lurking in the edges, waiting. Choose. That taunting voice hissed again, echoing around her, reverberating through the cavern. Love or fear? What will you sacrifice to save her? Before Amanda could answer, the ground beneath her shifted violently, leaving her teetering on the edge of the abyss. Cracks appeared, yawning wide like ravenous mouths, threatening to swallow her whole. Then from the darkness, fingers reached out, skeletal and ghastly, grasping for her, wanting her surrender. She felt herself tilt into the darkness, fear gripping her heart. Mom. No. Amanda's scream mingled with her daughter's, and that S when she noticed. The creatures in the shadows were her fears personified, reaching for her, each one a reflection of every moment she couldn't save Olivia. In the abyss, love and fear twisted together, the price of freedom weighing heavy in her heart. Could she confront the horrors and save her daughter, or would she be the next victim of the hunger lurking within the shadows? Olivia. That was all she could think. All she could scream. But what was her choice, and at what cost? A flash of Olivia's terrified face highlighted the darkness, and without hesitation, Amanda dove toward the abyss. Where would it lead? Would she emerge to save her, or fall deeper into the haunting truth of her own fears? The plunge into the abyss was disorienting. Everything twisted around her, shadows morphed into a whirling mass, pulling her down like a whirlpool swallowing a ship. Panic surged as dark tendrils wrapped tighter around her, entwining her body, dragging her closer to a churning void. Olivia. Her voice echoed, but it was weaker, as if the dark were absorbing her words. Cold washed over her skin, sharp and biting, as she fell deeper, consumed by a terror that thrummed in her very bones. Suddenly, she hit something solid, her body slamming against a cold stone floor. The dark gave way to an imperfect light flickering like a dying candle. Amanda pushed herself up, her heart racing as she reckoned with the surroundings. She was in another chamber, but this one was different. It felt more tangible, more real, yet cloaked in a heavy pall of dread. The air hung thick like a fog of despair. Faces flickered at the edges of her vision, horrific visages wreathed in shadows, eyes hollow and desperate. Whispers curled around her, like smoke, indistinct and menacing. Help, one pleaded. Leave, another hissed. The tormented cries intermingled, a haunting chorus bending her mind toward madness. That a wall of rock loomed behind her, cold and unyielding. There was no escape. Amanda spun around, forcing her eyes to search for her daughter. Olivia. She called out again, fear alongside a burning resolve igniting her, and then she heard it, the unmistakable whimper of her daughter echoing back from a corner, haunting yet distant. Mommy, the voice cried, trembling with despair. Where are you? Amanda shouted, the urgency pushing her forward, each step echoing, reverberating in the anxious silence of the chamber. Yet, as she moved, the shadows wavered and twisted, blocking her path with their ghastly forms. Mommy, please, the call trembled through the chamber, her daughter's voice, so close yet submerged in the clutches of darkness. Amanda's heart raced, she couldn't fail her now. The twisted figures lurched toward her, their eyes glinting with malice, mouths stretched into horrifying grins. They were her fears, monstrous shadows of her own making, failure, loss, and helplessness alive before her. Amanda bit back her terror, summoning every ounce of courage left in her. I will not let you take her. Amanda shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. The shadows hesitated, recoiling slightly as if struck. Choose your sacrifice. The taunting voice croaked again, reverberating through her head like a singed whisper. What will you give to save her? For a heartbeat, time faltered. Amanda felt a sharp pang in her chest. What was she willing to lose? She thought of the love she bore for Olivia, the sacrifices made, the sleepless nights. She would do anything. But the choice felt like shackles tightening around her. With each moment of hesitation, the shadows crept closer, the faces contorting into deeper despair. Let her be free. She cried out, fists clenched, a desperate resolve in her voice. The ground shook as the shadows surged forward, ravenous. Amanda dug deep, sucking in breath to refute them again, but they surged forward, clawing and grasping. Mom! Olivia's voice broke through, terror-filled, and that was all it took for Amanda to plunge into the depth of her own darkness. Embracing it, the monster of her own fears fed again, shredding against the fabric of her mind. A blinding light erupted, threatening to consume everything. No! Amanda screamed, feeling herself being ripped apart, and then silence fell. What emerged next was something far beyond her own comprehension, as the trap snared reluctantly released its hold, revealing a truth far more horrendous than anything she'd faced before. In the aftermath, something shifted around her. Where was Olivia? And what had she unleashed in that dark choice? Before Amanda could gather her thoughts, the walls of the chamber began to tremble again, a sinister sound breaking the stillness, like the distant echo of a clock ticking down. Mommy, a chill skittered up her spine as a shadow moved in the corner. Was it Olivia returning from the darkness, or something far more sinister? The air thickened, swirling like a tempest around Amanda as she stood frozen, watching the shadows shift. Her heart pounded, the subtle rhythm of its beating overshadowed by the sinister echo building in the chamber. Was it even a chamber? It felt like the inside of a living creature, pulsating with dark energy, hungry for something more. Mommy, the whisper sent tremors through her, its sweet familiarity laced with dread. She needed to respond, to move, but something rooted her in place, an invisible force, whispering doubts into her mind. Moments dragged, thick with anxiety, until she took a step forward. The pulse quickened. Was it the shadows responding, or just her fear rushing? She held her breath, straining to pierce the darkness. She had to fight for Olivia. Every fiber of her being screamed to retreat, but she couldn't leave. Not now. Amanda pushed against the walls of despair, trying to clutch her heart, her resolve forging iron footprints along the gravel floor of her soul. Please. Show yourself. She shouted, her voice a tremor against the lurking shadows. Tell me. Where is Olivia? Yet the darkness remained silent and tumultuous, a gaping maw waiting to swallow her whole. The flickering light grew dimmer, casting grotesque shapes against the rough stone, twisting her fears into unattainable phantoms that danced with cruel delight. With each passing second, something primal gnawed at her instincts. The hair on her arms stood on end, a chilling breath swept through the air, and the whispers escalated, a cacophony of pain-wrought pleas and taunts. Mommy, help! The voice was insistent, almost pleading. But was it really Olivia? Or a cruel trick of the abyss? Tears stung her eyes. Olivia. I'm coming. She screamed, heavy regret pounding against her chest as she plunged deeper into the shadows, each step fueled by frenetic determination. The ground felt loose beneath her feet, shifting with malignant purpose like quicksand. Suddenly, the light flared again, bathing her in an unnatural glow, revealing glistening figures crouched throughout the chamber, tormented souls, trapped and swirling in their anguish. Their eyes gleamed with unshed tears, mouths frozen in silent screams that echoed within her. Fear clawed at Amanda's throat. No. She gasped, understanding dawning. These were past sacrifices, unimaginable agony solidified into form. Was this her future? A warning of what lay ahead? Get out. She wanted to shout, but the shadows coiled tighter around her, binding her with suffocating chains of hopelessness. The chamber shook again, and the faces swirled around her, grinning grotesquely, urging her to join them. Mom, the voice cut through the chaos, crystalline in its clarity, radiating urgency. Amanda's heart leapt. There was no time to waste. Hold on, sweetheart. I'm coming. She cried out, charging into the heart of the chamber, where the whispers were louder, more desperate. It felt like an endless maze, drawing her closer to the heart of the darkness, but what awaited her at the center? Each question blasted through her mind like gunfire. Suddenly, the chaos stilled. Silence enveloped her, heavy and suffocating. The shadows wavered, as though deliberating their next move. They shifted, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness but unmistakably human. Mommy? The word hung in the air. Amanda's chest tightened painfully. The shadows thrummed with anticipation, drawing nearer, surrounding her. Was it truly Olivia? Or was this another deception, designed to lure her deeper into madness? In that moment, the darkness pulsated, its heartbeat intermingling with her own, as she faced the twisted reflection of her greatest fear: loss. Choose. A voice echoed, the horror palpable. What will you sacrifice to save her? Amanda's breath hitched as shadows clawed at her feet, reaching for her very soul. Please, no, she murmured, desperation creeping in, as the walls began to close in. Would she falter again, or plunge headfirst into the abyss to protect her child? As reality warped, a fearsome light flickered through the shadows once more, and Amanda steeled herself ready to uncover the ultimate truth, no matter the cost. Then everything went dark. What would she find in that darkness? What truth awaited beyond the veil? Amanda's heart pounded as darkness enveloped her, holding her in its suffocating grasp. Olivia! She cried again, her voice breaking, stirring whatever spirit lingered in the void. She shivered as unyielding silence echoed back, a haunting reminder of her solitude in this twisted nightmare. As she stood there, suspended between despair and determination, a whisper snaked through the air, chilling her core. What are you willing to sacrifice? The shadows coalesced, shapes twisting into grotesque forms that represented her worst fears: the fear of loss, the terror of failing her daughter, the endless cycle of darkness enveloping her every thought. I want to choose. She screamed, forcing defiance into her voice even as it trembled with fear. Suddenly, a flicker of light pierced the darkness, illuminating a path that twisted ahead of her. It felt surreal, like a promise of hope amidst the despair. Olivia! She shouted, feeling the urgency clawing at her. She took a tentative step toward the light, knowing that whatever lay beyond would require her to confront everything she dreaded. Mom! This time, the voice was clearer, anchored in that kaleidoscopic glow. Amanda rushed forward, feeling the weight of shadows pulling at her heels, but she wouldn't stop. The light shimmered like a beacon, drawing her closer until it enveloped her entirely. As the shadows thinned, the room shifted, the chilling chamber giving way to a warm, sunlit field, a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness she'd just escaped. Mommy! Olivia's voice was a song, pulling her towards a figure standing a few feet away. Amanda's breath caught in her throat when she spotted her daughter, her face radiant and healthy, eyes shining with a light that felt impossibly pure. Olivia stood safe and sound, untouched by the horrors Amanda feared. The warmth of relief flooded Amanda's very being, binding her heart to her child. Olivia, you're okay. Amanda rushed forward, tenderness flooding her as she embraced her daughter tightly, feeling the familiar softness of her hair against her cheek. But as the warmth wrapped around her, the shadows flickered at the edges of the field, ominous reminders of the darkness that still lurked. Mommy, I was scared. Olivia's little voice was edged with a hint of worry. It felt like I was lost. I know, sweetheart. But we're together now, Amanda whispered, squeezing her daughter tighter, as if to shield her from the looming darkness. And we'll always find a way back to each other. But even as she comforted her child, Amanda felt that malevolent presence creeping closer, curling around her thoughts like a malevolent fog. What do you want from us? She demanded, the courage swelling within her as she turned to face the encroaching shadows. You must choose a sacrifice, Amanda. What do you hold most dear? The disembodied voice dripped with malice, sneering at her as it echoed through the bright field, painting illusions of her deepest fears. Amanda tightened her grip on Olivia, ready to fight whatever evil crept near her child. I'll sacrifice anything for her, not my love, not my strength. She is worth everything. The conviction in her voice rang pure as she faced the storm. The light around her flickered brightly, feeding off her resolve, pushing against the darkness threatening to engulf them, for in her heart, she understood the truth: fear had no hold over the power of her love. The shadows writhed, struggling against the rising light, howling as they recoiled from Amanda's truth. No. You cannot take her from me. And then, in a shattering moment, the light erupted into a blinding brilliance, overwhelming the darkness that had clawed at her soul. The shadows hissed and shrieked, slithering away as the warmth engulfed everything. Mommy! The light! Olivia exclaimed, her awe wrapping around Amanda in a cocoon of warmth and safety. Yes. We're safe. Amanda laughed, tears of joy streaming down her face. And as the last remnants of shadow dissipated, the echoes of fear dissolved with in that moment, Amanda knew she had made her choice. She chose love over fear. The battle was fought, the darkness retreating into fading whispers. Together, they had sealed their bond against the haunting shadows of despair. A soft breeze washed over them, bringing with it the sound of birds chirping, the laughter of children playing nearby, and the serenity of a world free from dread. Here, nothing could touch them. They rose hand in hand, feeling invincible under the sun's warm glow. Let us go home, sweetheart, Amanda smiled down at Olivia, the love in her heart swelling as they stepped away from the remnants of darkness. They walked back toward their lives, hand in hand, their bond stronger, resilient against whatever shadows may still threaten their world. This was not just the end but a beginning, a promise that together, they could conquer whatever monsters lay in the depths. Now, it's time for you to join the journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss these exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more fans like you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending you want to hold back. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Be the true fan who supports the channel. Let us keep this storytelling alive.